Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. And today what we're doing is we're diving into part 2 of our interview with Rod Khleif. If you guys listened to the first one, you're going to be excited for the second half. If you haven't listened to the first one, go back and listen to it before you dive in today. But Anthony, what's a takeaway or two that you had from Rod's interview today?
Well, what I liked is he had so much information. And that first podcast was more about mindset. This one, we're going to talk about legacy with the kids, and then also he's sharing some insight on the economy, which is very interesting. And what I like is that, you know, if you notice, a lot of the people that you interview or that we interview that are wealthy or have built businesses, most of the time that's a first generation, right? They've come in from humble beginnings. And I think that creates the grit and that work ethic. And so we asked Rod, you know, he came from very humble beginnings and how he's making sure his kids can develop that same grit. So he shared about that. And he also talks about we need to get out of our head and get ready to take action, because you start watching the news, things are going to sound terrible, right? But I just try to remember what happened the last crash, and I'm sitting on the sidelines wanting to take action. And, you know, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't focus on what the headlines on the paper, what I'm hearing in the news. I would be doing my research, and I'd be finding and taking advantage of those opportunities. So I really liked this last piece. What were some takeaways you had, Cam?
Takeaways that I had was 2008 was very reminiscent of your high school athletic career. You were sitting on the sidelines. In regards to this episode, the takeaway that I had with Rod, again, man, this guy, like you said, he's first generation. He's built this empire himself, right? And so the piece that I like is, I hate to say this, and I don't want to come across negative in any way, but there's a lot of syndicators out there.
Yeah.
Right? Syndicators kind of reach out to us often. Hey, can we come on the show? This and that. And essentially what they're doing is they're looking for deposits, and they're going to take the cash and they're going to go invest it for you. But Rod is a little bit different, right? Rod is actually out there teaching you how to analyze and invest in apartments or those types of investments. He's teaching you how to actually go out there and invest in multifamily yourself. And so that is why we were excited to have him on here, and that's why I think you guys will be excited to listen to a little bit about what he has to say. And then at the end, he's also going to give you a little direction to some of his boot camps where you guys can learn more. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you haven't listened to the first one, again, introduction to Rod. Rod Khleif is a podcast host, author, multifamily specialist. He owns over 2,000 properties. Today, he's going to be talking about his humble beginnings and then also the mindset that allowed him to recover from losing $50 million in 2008. And then he's going to give you some actionable steps that you guys can do to get in a position to be ready for what's coming next.
And you know what? One thing he talked about at the end was creating those goals.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to allow you to focus. So he's got a free resource to help you determine those goals. So wait till the end and he will share that URL. And I think it'll be some great information. Enjoy the episode.
Take care.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we teach clients how to build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
Rod, that was some great info, and I got a question for you. I do want to dive into the economy, but before we do, you know, it seems like a lot of people that we interview or people who are successful, oftentimes they come from humble beginnings, right? And that I think is what helped creates that drive. But Rod, you had mentioned that you have a couple kids. What advice do you give somebody who's doing well, trying to make sure that the kids kind of can obtain that grit and that
good question.
Attain
Got
that
it.
drive?
Yeah, no, good question. And I started out making the mistake of spoiling my kids because I had nothing. I bought them cars. Big mistake. Don't do that. Make them help pay for it. They have come full cycle. They're very motivated now, but they weren't back then because of, you know, my spoiling them, frankly. And, you know, so there's my advice there. Make them work for whatever they have. Don't just give it to them. I know you want to, and I wanted to, and I'm taking them I'm taking them to Japan. We're booking it today. Actually, it's right here. Book Japan in my planner. I'm taking them on a trip, but they work their butts off. They've got great. They're just good people. They've got great friendships. They're motivated and driven, and they help me at my boot camps. My daughter had a health scare. She hasn't been able to help for a year, but she's good now. And they're just, they're motivated now, but of course they're around me, and I'm all about mindset and psychology all the time. So, there's a little bit of an edge there, because, I used to incant and affirmations, I am success, I am power, and I'd yell it out. And in fact, that's what at the boot camps, that's the one question they get asked the most. Does he really do that stuff, run around yelling stuff? Like, yeah. But so I'm probably an anomaly in that regard. But if you can, I would here's let me give you a gift. If you've got a kid that's over 10 years, and if you're not interested in multifamily, go to rodslinks.com. Rodslinks.com. At the bottom of that is my goal setting workshop that I do. I do it every year. I did it on New Year's Day this year, and it's free. And there's a guide you can download. Have them do that. Have them get clear on what they want. See, here's the problem, guys. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. Have them, have your kids do their goals. I promise you they'll get juiced. It's a lot of fun. It's very professionally done in my studio with music, and so go there and do the goal set. In fact, even if you're an adult and you haven't done your goals in a quarter or a year, you and your spouse go do them. Do them separately and then compare notes, see how aligned you are. You both headed the same direction, right? But that's a gift to anybody that's got kids, say over 10 years old. A very, very powerful exercise to get them starting to think about what it is that they want, so they're not all over the place. I don't know if that helps, but
yeah, no,
absolutely
perfect.
Okay,
Rod, is we've alluded to it a few times throughout the interview now at this point, is what I'd like to ask is kind of what your thoughts are kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
Right. But I was going to frame it as, hey, you've been through 2006 and 2007 and that stuff. You lost 50 million. What are some of the similarities that you're seeing now today and some of the differences?
It's completely different. Let me just say that. Okay. That crash back there was caused because if you could fog a mirror, you could borrow money and buy a house. Okay. And the subprime lending was just lunacy. And of course they killed it on Wall Street, selling all these different exotic packages of loans. It's different this time. And I think it's worse this time, frankly. The Fed has been the political, I think what the Biden administration has done is it either $6 or $8 trillion worth of money they've spent out of thin air that they don't have. They just did another. Yeah, exactly. They just did another, this student loan thing. Thank God the judge has stopped that. Hopefully he'll kill it. Printing money. That's what's caused the problem that we have. That's why our inflation is insane. That's why gas is insane. Yeah, I don't want to go political here because you don't solve it by printing more money. And I think that was just a ploy to buy votes. But the bottom line is that's what's causing the problem. And these interest rate increases, they're talking about another 75 basis point, or maybe it's a point and a half, at least 75 basis points before the end of the year. I don't know that that's going to stop it is the concern. And the debt in this country is insane. In fact, they had to print more money in September just to pay the interest on that debt. At some point, somebody's going to have to pay the piper. And so, Robert Kiyosaki's of course, been talking about this forever. He thinks it's going to be a major crash. Trump, love him or hate him, said that it could be as bad as the Great Depression. Elon Musk, quote on YouTube, they are lying to you. The crash will be much bigger than they say. There are, by the way, there are 20 million families in this country behind on their utility bills. 20 million families. Okay. These headlines are all buried. You have to dig for them. I was in the foreclosure business. I used to help people out of foreclosure. I had a litigation support company. We'd stop a foreclosure. We'd help them modify their loans. We helped thousands of families save their homes. I'd hated the business because nobody's happy when they're losing their home. I sold it a few years ago, but I had lunch with the guy that bought it from me. And he said, there is a tsunami of foreclosures coming. Of course, they didn't just stop the evictions. They stopped the foreclosures as well. So, all of those are hitting now. So listen, there's still a huge demand for housing, and there's a pent up, a shortage, honestly. So that's the other side of the equation.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, people there are people struggling to put food on the table when rent has gone up like crazy. Energy costs have gone up, and we won't even talk about what's going on with that in Europe. I was in Europe a few weeks ago for 3 weeks, and I was in all over Scandinavia and Ireland, and man, people were bemoaning how much their energy has gone up. But so it's a global thing. It's not just the United States, but I really think we're heading for a reckoning, and I don't look at it as with fear. Of course, a little fear pops up because I'm dragging around that bag of experiences from 08
Sure.
and 9, but it's more optimism that there's going to be incredible opportunity. Okay. Because I believe everything's going on sale. We're already seeing prices go down in single family. It's about to happen in multifamily as well. There was a lot of greed these last few years. And I don't know if you've heard, Warren Buffett's famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy.
Yeah.
And be greedy when others are fearful. Well, like I said, I think after the midterms, there's going to be a lot of fear because I think the media is going to make things look terrible and try to make, the other political party look bad. And so without getting into politics, but I think that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong, but I really believe that's what's going to happen. And then, perception is reality. So people will stop spending, which will, of course, make it worse. This interest rate thing is a little crazy, but I remember when I first got in the business, I'm 62 years old. When I first got in the business, when I was 18, interest rates were 18%. I remember doing backflips when they hit 7%. Okay. I'm like, holy cow, we can get 7%. So, it's not about the interest rates as it is about cash flow. And so, if you buy right, I don't care if you're paying 12% interest, you can make deals work if you buy right and they cash flow. I wrote a book. I've got it right here. I give it away for free. It's the #1 bestseller. It's called How to Create Lifetime. You can't see it. How to Create Lifetime Cash Flow. There we go. Maybe you can see it there with multifamily properties. And the reason I bring that up is the subtitle is The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, i.e. the new rules are focus on freaking cash flow. Don't tell me you can buy it for $5 million and the guy that had it before paid $7 million. Irrelevant. How well does it cash flow? So again, it's not a time to be fearful. It's a time to get ready. It's a time to conserve cash. I've cut back most of our spending. I'm in a lot of cash right now. But even if you don't have a lot of cash, if you're talking about this business with other people and you meet people that have some money, you let them know, listen, I'm getting excited because there's going to be opportunity. Once I find some, are you interested in maybe partnering with me and taking down some deals when the quote unquote blood's running in the streets? So, it may not be as bad as I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty bad. I just telling you about my mastermind at my last event 3 months ago. I was the bear. I was the one that was like, man, I think it's going to be ugly, guys. And I was the worst, the bearish one there. Maybe because of my history, who knows? But I hope I'm wrong, because if it's as bad as I think it's going to be really bad. But even if it's just a recession, which is pretty much a given, I think we're in recession right now. There's going to be opportunity. Prices of things are going down. So, there's my 2 cents. I do think, we're heading for some serious pain. And that's why, if you're up to speed and you pick a vehicle, whatever it is, some people are saying it could be the greatest transfer of wealth in history. So, you've got to be ready to capitalize on it. In 2008 and 2009, I was hiding under a rock. Okay. I got crushed by that wave. I'm surfing this wave. Okay. So, yeah.
Rod, how do you think specifically this will impact multifamily?
Well, I think like I said, there's been a lot of greed these last couple of years. Like this last year, the primary debt that was used was bridge debt. Okay. Now, what is bridge debt? Bridge debt is the commercial real estate equivalent of hard money loans. Okay. It's the wild, wild west with bridge debt. And here's the problem. Bridge debt was really put in place to bridge the gap between a non-performing asset. You buy it, you fix it up, and then you put long-term fixed rate, like conforming loans on there, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, non-recourse debt. Well, the problem was Fannie and Freddie are smart. And so they started lowering the loan to values, knowing that the stuff is going to start hitting the fan. And so we just closed on an asset in Nashville last week. $33 million deal. We put 60% loan on it. Okay. 60% loan to value. And, we got 10-year fixed rate debt, 5 years of interest only. And, but a lot of operators, it was just a screaming deal. I still have, 10% cash on cash, upwards of 19% internal rate of return, 20 to 22% annual adjusted return. I mean, just screaming deal. But a lot of operators, to buy deals these last year or so, put bridge debt on because they had higher loan to value. So here's the problem. Bridge debt is short-term debt. I mean, typically it's 3 years. Sometimes you can get 3-1-1 where you can get 5 years, but it's adjustable rate interest as well. And in like a year ago, they didn't insist on rate caps. This last 6 months before the interest rates started popping, you had to pay for a rate cap, but even that's 2%. And when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar deal, 2% is a big deal. We just had a guy that we were looking at an asset in Texas, and they told him his reserves to start getting ready for his loans coming due. His reserves, monthly reserve amount that he had to pay went from $8,000 to $80,000. You think that's going to impact somebody in the business, especially, a lot of these operators these last year or two haven't been through a downturn. They didn't raise operating reserves. Like we always have 6 months of expenses in the bank just in case the you-know-what hits the you-know-what. And so a lot of these operators didn't do that. And so I think we're going to see some pain in the commercial multifamily world, which is where I play. And really pain and opportunity. I mean, we're getting excited about potential opportunity. So there's my 2 cents there.
Rod, you dropped a lot of some great wisdom here.
Thank you.
You made this super easy for us.
Thank you.
All we did was say, "Hey, Rod, how you doing?"
Well, the boy can talk. The boy can talk. There is that.
It's great, because the mindset is very important.
Yeah.
Oftentimes,
especially in what's coming.
Yeah, I'm a very analytical person, right? So you were kind of talking to me, right? And too much we focus on the spreadsheet and the numbers. We got to get our head right.
Well, you really got to get out of your head. If you're in your head, you're dead. Honestly, you've got to get out of your head and get into your heart and recognize that you don't have to check off every single box before you make a move. Okay. Sometimes some of the best deals I've gotten had been because I moved quickly. I didn't know all the players. I didn't know everything about the deal. I just knew that it looked good and I had to move. And so for an analytical person, that's probably the biggest hurdle, is that whole analysis by paralysis component and that need to check off every box. That's the biggest hurdle we see in our, when we get somebody that's interested in our coaching program, and to try to push them over the edge, because they're our most successful students. The analytical ones are by far the most successful students, but you got to get them to actually take action and get started. And that's our biggest hurdle. But anyway, yeah.
Rod, real quick before we wrap this up, is you mentioned 2 things. You kind of gave us a teaser on the boot camp, right?
Okay.
I just want to touch on that. January 21st and 22nd, right?
Yeah.
That's the next one. $97, 2-day event. You said it's
it'll go to
16 hours.
400. It'll go to 400, but I just had to confirm those dates, and that's right. That's the dates. It'll go to 400 ultimately, but just DM me and I'll make sure that. Did I lose you guys? Oh no,
nope, we're here. Nope, we're here.
Oh crap! I hope I didn't close it out. Anyway, yeah. So again, text my name Rod to 72345 if you're in the car, and I'll send you the link, or go to multifamilybootcamp.com. And it's every aspect of this business. I mean, the manual. Is this the manual? No, that's not it. But I mean, the manual's huge. Trust me. I mean, I'm not like teasing you. It's every aspect of this business. The manual's about that thick. Just so you know, it's up on the thing. I'm not going to drag it down right now. But
okay, yeah.
It's the real deal, and you get tons of other resources that I provide you. I mean, I massively over deliver. Yeah. Again, if you go to multifamilybootcamp.com, just go to the bottom and see what people said. Don't even take my word for it, but it's a lot of fun. You won't get bored. I keep it very interesting, very exciting. You'll do things that, it's not like your typical real estate event at all. But you'll learn a ton, you'll retain a ton, and you'll be motivated. You'll be supercharged, ready to go take action. And then again, if you're not interested in multifamily, go to rodslinks.com. You and your spouse do my goal setting. If you've got kids over 10, do the goal setting. It's at the bottom. All my social stuff is there. There's a lot of free resources there as well. I got free books. You can buy my best-selling book. You just pay the shipping. You get that. And my how to create lifetime cash flow book. It's like $6 to get the physical copy of that. So, if you're serious about this, a lot of free resources there. My website is there. A lot of free resources there as well. The links, it's my link tree is what it's called. Rod's Links. Yeah, there you go.
Rod, we can't thank you enough, man. Really appreciate your time and the resources. We'll make sure that we take those links, put them in the show notes, and that way everybody can find you.
Thanks, guys. Very much a pleasure to meet you guys.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. Also, check out our website, infinitewealthconsultants.com, to find our podcast along with other additional resources.